Welcome to the Hard-Won Wisdom Podcast with best-selling author Fawn Germer and corporate innovator Michelle Brigman. Come here weekly for career and life-changing conversations with some of today's most influential thought leaders, senior executives, and trailblazers who will share their mentoring wisdom. This podcast is brought to you by the Women's Leadership Network.
Hi, I'm Fawn Germer.
And I'm Michelle Brigman.
And this is the last podcast of season 5 of the Hard-Won Wisdom podcast. And people, we got big stuff going on. So,
5 seasons? Really?
I know, right? That just went by so fast.
It has gone by fast. How awesome is that? But I have a question.
What?
What's up with the hat today, Fawn?
Well, that's my Oru kayak hat. And let's not overlook my Montana is for Badasses t-shirt. I dress.
This is what's to listen to you on YouTube right now. See the to be watching on YouTube because you just see the great modeling of the t-shirt.
Oh, that's right. Well, don't worry, because to those of you who are not on my Facebook page or LinkedIn, you need to get on it because you're going to get quite a show all summer. And so we have lots of news. I am getting in my camping van with my dog in 3 days. Now, we're recording this a few weeks before you're going to hear it, but, and I'm heading to the Rockies and spending the summer doing fun stuff and vlogging and writing and doing my virtual thing. And the hat, of course, everybody knows I'm a big kayaker, but for those of you missing our YouTube, you're missing this. Okay, so here's the question. What percentage of my hair roots are white? I think it's almost 100, right? Okay.
No, on camera, it's like
how many?
15, 20%.
No, I think it's all white. So if ever I'm going to try and get rid of my brown hair-colored hair, it's going to be while I'm doing this trip, which this is something all of us go through as we get a little bit older, is when we're going to stop the charade, right? The charade that I have brown hair. I don't have brown hair. I have such not brown hair that I have to color it every 3 weeks. So I thought, okay, let's see what it's going to look like if I go au natural.
Welcome to my world.
What? You're all natural?
Yeah, I've never colored my hair.
Oh, yeah. Well, so what? Some of us have more white than others.
Well, I have a lot of white.
And I'm not been told that if I do this, I will never get another date in my life if I have white hair. And that may be the case. It may be that I go buy myself another, box of number 5, nice and easy, and hit a campground bathroom and then go back to brown. I think what I want to avoid is, how sometimes people continue coloring their hair too long and it looks horrible when they get, somebody's got to say it's time to stop. So I want to check that out.
I always like the women who are, like, I think about people and like some of the teachers that were a lot older when I was a little girl. So they would be like older, but they would have that super dark black hair. It was so awful because it just was not flattering at all.
Yeah, we cannot do that. And so I want to see if I can get anywhere with this. That's why I did get a haircut that's much shorter than I usually have. I kind of like it, though. You like it?
Yeah.
If you're listening, you better be listening. Good job, girlfriend. She always takes care of me. And but I feel like you and I are just at such a turning point in our life.
But before you go there, can we just have a conversation for a minute? Because
I'm up for a hair conversation. We
love my children. Okay, so I'm growing my hair out, right? I've been trying to keep it maintained so it just doesn't look awful in the in-between stages. But I did the short hair and I'm ready to go back to have it longer. So it's been taking a while because I keep trimming it up. But my kids sat me down the other day and they're like, Mom, how much longer till your hair grows out? Because we need Cool Mom again. And I'm like, well, what is this? And they're like, I said, you don't think this haircut looks good? No, we didn't say that. Actually, the haircut looks really good if we were hiring you to run a company. Like, Mom, you have CEO hair. And they proceeded to pull up the internet and look at women CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. And guess what? I had the haircut. So they're like, now I have to get into what they call TV mom or Hollywood. They're like, you look like TV mom because just the way you dress, you look like the mom on TV and you've got that haircut. So I'm working on making my way back to cool mom and not CEO mom anymore.
Your hair always looks so cute, so sexy. I mean, you just got great hair. You can do whatever you want. Don't listen to those kids. They're kids. They don't know. It all works. But, fortunately, you have options. So how long do you think before it's out all the way? And are you going as long as it used to be?
No, I won't go as long as that, but I want it a little below my shoulders. So I'll do kind of a shag cut. Honestly, my hair grows super fast. If I would just
leave it alone
and quit.
I want you
to get a cut like every 5 weeks.
I want you to get a mullet.
Yeah, that's so not going to happen. I had one before, though. I had one.
You have a picture?
Yeah. When I first started at Dell, like back in those days, I'm told.
Honest to goodness, mullet. I never had a mullet.
100% I had the mullet. 100% the mullet.
How did you ever look in the mirror when you were wearing that mullet and think, oh, don't I look hot today?
Oh, it was so cute, I thought. And I even had like a cute badge picture. It worked in my little mullet.
Why did they call it a mullet?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I'm going to ask Google that. Keep talking for a minute.
No. So I've had it every way, the short way. But yeah, it was me being defiant to cut it all off because I was sick of, the men, my husband telling me, but it's also just men. Women look sexy with long hair. I'm like, screw this. I'm cutting it all off. And that's what I did.
All right, here's the answer.
Okay, the mullet.
Mullet websites, and it's spelled MULLETT. Websites generally credit the coining of this phrase to Mike D of the Beastie Boys, came from the song Mullet Head on 1994's Three Communication album, which described the haircut and its wearers. So there.
Little Beastie Boy action.
I just cannot see you with a mullet, but I'm so glad I never saw myself with that. So I know, but white hair. Will I ever get a date?
Yes, you'll get a date. Now the question is, will
I'm
you
not getting any dates right now.
So your dating track record at the moment, that's a lot to be desired. So it's like,
I know.
We know where you are without the natural hair. I mean, it's going to be a fun compare contrast, isn't it? It's like a experiment.
I know. I mean, my dating track record has really, it's ridiculous. So if anybody out there knows anybody of any persuasion,
they have to be active and they have to have their own life and they can't be real needy.
And they have to have money in the bank. I am not anybody's plus one, or they're not my plus one on my retirement savings. So they got to be set, politically aligned in the correct column. So don't worry, Michelle, that excludes you.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing I wasn't shopping for you.
That's right. I know. So anyhow, yeah. All right. So we both are at the same time diving into really big changes. And I'm leaving in the van, and everybody says, well, where's your first stop? Well, my first stop is to my friend Pete's house in Santa Rosa Beach, because then I can plug in there, and then I got to stop in Louisiana. But I am heading straight to Michelle's house.
I can't wait. Soon you'll be showing up.
I know, but what's so weird is I sent a text to this guy because I was picking something up at his house. And I thought I was texting you, and I said, I'm going to be at your house in a week. And he goes, okay. Then I'm driving down the road, getting ready to pick this up, and I look at that, and I'm like, oh, wait, I'm going to be there in 3 minutes. Yeah, how can you start a cross-country trek without some time with Michelle? She's great. It's so sunny. My dog is going to be staying with Michelle. We're going to be there a few days, see the girls in Texas.
Then you got a posse you're going to see while you're here.
Well, and you and I have work to do too. Yeah, but not overly working.
Well, we worked hard a couple of weeks ago in Florida, so.
Yeah, we did. People, show them the picture, the YouTube people. You get to see this picture behind Michelle. She's walking at sunrise on Caladesi Island. Isn't that beautiful? We went and kayaked out there, and that's
for the sunrise. That's a sunrise.
Yeah, sunrise is always better than sunset. To those of you at home, I'm going to tell you that because there are beautiful sunsets, but other people are looking at it. Sunrise, nobody wants to get their ass out of bed. So you get that quiet, the serenity, all of that. So I'm really excited to see some Western sunrises. But the problem is, and I remember this because I lived in Colorado for 8.5 years, you don't get good sunrises and sunsets in the mountains. Do you know that? Because you don't have a clear horizon. So by the time it peaks up over the mountains, it's not that bright orange. And then while it's setting, it's not there either. It's gone before it's the real sunset thing. Now, sometimes you get a little extra treat. But 8.5 years, I think I could count them on one hand. And they were beautiful. They really were. Well, we'll see. Maybe it's different. Maybe it's different because I'm going to go to New Mexico and then Colorado and Wyoming, Montana, and to the West Canadian Rockies. But if the fires go crazy, I'm heading back to the Carolinas because they don't suck.
You're going to have such an incredible time. How long are you going to be gone?
I don't know. 2-3 months.
Driving alone, a couple of months, driving alone with Sunny, the dog, in the new van. This is it's a whole different camping experience than what you typically do.
I looked at Sunny a couple hours ago and I said, I wouldn't even be doing this if I didn't have you. I'm so lucky. I have this rescue dog. I got him for $10 on sale at the pound. And boy, what a great sidekick he's turned into.
I'm into that.
But we're talking about me. So Michelle, what are you doing?
Well, I quit my job.
Yes.
A couple weeks ago.
And let me just tell you, we Zoom as much as we can, but she was on limited Zoom because the job was consuming. And it wasn't even my Michelle. She was not in a good space.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so listeners out there, right? You have a friend you talk to and they know. I mean, whether it's work or whether it's personal, like whatever, you got to pay attention whenever the people that care about you call you on it. It was tough. It was a tough decision. I mean, I knew what I wanted to do, but the whole fear of, it's not predictable. What's the risk? Like, what am I doing? So it was scary, but I tell you what, it felt so good. And it still feels good. And like we talked about, Fawn poured some good affirmations into me the other day, just reminding me that, there's zero, that this is great. Like things are going really well. So that was very helpful.
I think what you're going through, other people can learn from, because I think there's a tendency when we take a big risk to think, okay, I'm going to fail at it, and then I'm going to be homeless eating out of a garbage pail. And the odds of that are zero. You and I'm certain for every person listening to this, the odds of you eating out of a garbage pail are zero. So don't tell yourself that. And you just have to know if it's never going to play out the way you expect it, it will look different. It will happen different. You're going to have obstacles, but you'll never know what you can achieve if you don't try it.
That was the big thing, is I knew if I didn't do this, I would regret it my whole life. And on the note that you're talking about, so for me, as I'm sitting there thinking about, so for example, my daughter just turned 16 and I bought her a car. So I had a car, I had some other big expenses come through. So like immediately my bank account like took a hit.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. But my mindset was like, I'm not going to make another dollar. I was looking at the balance thinking, oh, it's just going to all go down from here, forgetting for a moment that, wait a second, there's revenue. I'm doing new things that bring in revenue. And it's not like the tank is what it was before I quit and it's only going down from there. So that was very helpful for me, just to get out of my own head and freaking out like just the steady drip to zero. And then what? But that's not how it works.
Well, I was thinking about that today, about that. I'm willing to bet that within the next 4 months, a very good job offer is going to come your way. And you have to decide whether you're going to say yes or no. Because honestly, if you're ever going to do this thing of setting up your coaching business and your classes and everything, which you're meant to do, if you're ever going to do it, this is it. You're not getting younger. You're over 50, sister. It's now.
Now.
Yeah. And so the job's always going to feel safer to you. It's what you know. But there will be others. And you have to just be ready for that. It's exciting to see your excitement.
Oh, I'm so excited. I love what I'm spending my time on now. I love it. And I love who I'm spending my time with.
Isn't it funny that once you start doing that, though, you also have the stuff that you have to take care of at the house with the kids and all of that stuff. And there's always that moment when you think, how did I ever get this stuff done while I was working?
Oh my God. The first 2 weeks from when I quit, and the first 2 weeks for me, because I'm only in like, it's not been very long, but anyway, for 2 weeks, I was so confused on what to do with my time. Like, how do I spend it? To your point you're making, the day would go by so fast. And so I had to pretty quick go, okay, how do I want to manage my time and my life? And that doesn't mean going back to those old bad habits of a gazillion hours a week, giving up everything for everybody else. And, now I have my system and I'm tweaking it, but now it's like, I feel really good about how I use my time and what I'm using it for and what I'm not doing anymore because I don't want to do. It was draining the tank, if you will. It was not an investment. It was a drain.
And now you're just feeling joy and you can do your best work and have every confidence this thing's going to take off and go gangbusters. And so
spending more time with kids, a different kind of time. That's the other thing too. Like, it's a totally different vibe. With my kids are 16 and 24 and completely different because I can be different. I'm not like, like I joked about it before. When I show up as what their term is work Michelle, where I'm talking to them as I would, it's usually when I'm stressed, right? So it's not the encouraging, wonderful leader. It's the dictator. So they call it work Michelle. And she showed up and she was showing up a lot. And I don't want her showing up for my family. That's not who they want from me. They need mom.
I think your true self is just going to blossom. So we're, with the podcast, we're going to regroup in the fall, and it's going to be wonderful to debrief how we've changed doing this, because and there will be things we're doing while I'm gone. I mean, we just don't know what. I know I'm going to do a lot of solo stuff, and Michelle's going to do her solo stuff. But I think we should do some LinkedIn Lives and things, and some. When I don't know how this is going to play out. I am going so far in my discomfort zone from this whole experience because I'm going by myself. There will be times when I'm going to be camping in national forests, out the boondocks where there is no one but my dog. That's scary to me. And I got to see if that works. I don't know. Campgrounds are easy. So I'm going to be learning a lot about who I am in a different situation too. And Michelle, you know this, that, a lot of why I wanted to do it now was a year ago. I had that big scare when they said that I likely had early onset dementia or Alzheimer's. And that was because I had a really bad cycling accident. And it really caused me to reevaluate things. And I thought, well, if I'm ever going to do this trip, I need to do it now while I still know that I'm not going to get lost if I'm on a trail or driving. And that always hung in the air over me. And it's a pretty good story because of how you have to really be driving the bus on your medical stuff. And so that neurologist who told me that I likely had that, he had them do a lumbar puncture, which is the new term for spinal tap. And then they were going to check that for the Alzheimer's proteins. And when they did, it came up with none of the proteins. And he said, but stay on the Alzheimer's medicine. Keep taking that. And I talked to my primary, who is awesome. And she says, why would you keep taking that if you don't have the proteins? She said, let's stop that. So I stopped and I told the physician's assistant for that neurologist that I wanted a different neuro. I didn't like him. I just didn't trust him. He's a jerk. Didn't listen to me. And she says, yeah, I've heard a lot like that from other patients. So she told me who the good ones were in Pinellas County, Florida, which is where I live. And the one that I wanted to go to, that whole practice, they weren't taking any new patients. So I just didn't really do anything. And I met somebody who had a similar experience, a head injury, massive memory loss. And she had a really good neurologist she was working with. And I said, well, who is it? And she gave me the name and I called and I made an appointment. I didn't realize she was in that practice now that the other one had referred me to. And I showed up last week. And wow, she was really impressive. And she sat there and she just talked to me, just listened to me. I told the whole story. My mother had Alzheimer's and how I'm afraid I am about this and I'm doing that trip. And she's like, okay, well, let's do this test. So they've got that basic Alzheimer's test, not the one that you'd spend 3 days doing, but they give you 5 words not related. I remember Donald Trump did it and he was so proud he still remembered his words. I still remember my words because what they do is then ask you maybe 10 other things, and every one of those is designed to get you to forget the 5 words that you were told to remember. But every time I did one, I just kept saying face, velvet, church, daisy, red, right? I did it every time. So I get done with the test and the woman says, well, you scored perfect on that. And I want to tell you, I think you're wonderful. And you don't have early onset dementia and you don't have early onset Alzheimer's. You're just a normal person in her 60s and dealing with what happens with the brain. She goes, you're in great shape. You didn't get anything wrong. I don't want you to get any more testing and I don't need to see you again unless something changes dramatically. Do you know what a relief?
Yes.
I had carried that on me for so long because even though I didn't have those proteins, I just thought that must explain why this is happening. And I still have residual problems from that concussion. There's no doubt. And you can see that I can't follow directions if there are more than 2 steps. Of course, the assumption is that I could before.
I was going to say,
I don't want to hear any comments from you about that. But I still have some stuff from that. But the realization that I'm okay is really exciting. And I blew my knee out, which is not good for the hiking and cycling I want to do. But I remember thinking, well, I guess I have to learn yoga this summer because, when bad things happen, it's on you to figure out a way. It's on you. I have a friend who's got a really bad disease and she says, I'm dying, but she's not dying for 30 more years. It's like, you've got today. And And every day you have to fill it with the best stuff you can. So, I'm getting ready and I'm really sentimental about leaving my home, leaving where I live in Dunedin, which is this. Well, I don't want to tell all you people about it because then you'll come here. We have too many beautiful beaches, sunsets, and I kayak here, sunrise, sunset all the time. I'm sad because I'm going to miss that and trying to cram in as many last minute adventures as I can. But I have this real gratitude because I know I live a great life. And
yes, you do. You've created that. I mean, that's the thing, people. I just want to reiterate it. You made a choice to do that. And so everybody has the choice to do that today. And it means, but it may mean, and likely means stepping into the unknown where everything's not mapped out. And it's so funny because we fool ourselves by that, thinking that we do have all these answers and everything's going to plan when we all know full well that life never goes to plan. So when it is much more ambiguous and cloudy, just that's why it's important to know your intention and know the lifestyle that you want to have, and then take it day by day and focus on that. And how are you bringing those elements into your life? And if you can't just walk away from, some people, not everybody wants to walk away from their career. Somebody, would go do something else. But if you feel like you're kind of bogged down, can you take 15 minutes today to just close your eyes and be grateful and make sure you are pouring in at least one thing every day that represents what's important to you? But you got to do it every single day, because otherwise you live in reaction mode where you just let life throw its stuff at you. And then all of a sudden time's passed and you're sitting there with regret. And you don't.
And do something that you do, which I think you're really good at, is you're very mindful when you're doing things. You don't autopilot your time.
Anymore. I did for a long time, but I don't anymore.
Well, what changed that?
That was part of when I went through my own little self-discovery, right? About I've done all this stuff I'm so proud of. I've accomplished these things, and on paper, everything looks great. Why do I feel so miserable? And why am I questioning whether or not my choices were even worth it? And that was I knew I had to get some clarity around that. And so I went on my own journey. And I mean, that was 6 years ago that process started. And it took me to, taking a 1-year course around wellness. It took me to get my coaching certification. It took me to start small groups. It took me to start my business just as a side thing because I was loving it so much. And it just helped me to realize that I had way too much expectation on my career. I thought my career and my family, they could be all things to me. And so when anything was off, it completely unraveled my happiness. And what I had to do is to look at I'll say widen the net, step back and look a whole lot wider at what are all the aspects of my life and where am I at with my spirituality? Where am I at with my relationship with God? Where am I at with my relationship with my friend? Where am I at with my relationship with myself? Intimate relationships. Am I taking care of myself? All those things. And then it started to become more and more clear where things were off, and help me to prioritize how I was pouring in. And what's working today, next week may be a little bit different. But to the point you made earlier about being mindful, as soon as I feel that unsettled thing, then I go, okay, I'm going to unpack that. What's going on? Because I don't want to head down a path to where it's so hard for me to unravel and get back. I want to recognize it quickly so I can take action and then get myself back to that moment. And even in the midst of chaos, which it's not like life's great all the time, right? You can be in the shit storm, but it helps you find things to be grateful for during the storm instead of letting it consume and just suffocate you. That's how you have that resilience.
Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah. I think it's also when you do it that way, you have the ability to be happy no matter what,
Yeah.
even in
No matter what.
happy times. And a lot of people don't have that. And I'm so outspoken, and I've got that tough love thing where it's like, come on, make up your mind. And some people can't hear it. And I don't really know what to say when people have bad coping skills and you offer them a better way, and they're getting something off of that negativity. And I'm not sure what it is. It's like, why would you choose to feel sorry for yourself or choose to be
at a level where they are, though, right?
I don't know. I'm like, come on, what's your problem?
Don't you love them where they are, and you're planting seeds, and those seeds just may not break ground
Yeah.
for some years down the road, and it's for them because you don't have any control over that. You can just love them where they are, encourage and support, but at the end of the day, it's their choice.
Yeah. So for people who are listening, the one thing I tell you is choose happy.
Yeah.
There's always an easier, happier route, no matter what. I remember putting a dog down once, and I was just sobbing as I was doing it. And then I felt just this big whoosh of gratitude because I had been so blessed to have that dog for so long. And that, oh my gosh, what if I'd never had him? What if I hadn't found him? And so even though I was so sad, it's countered by the power of gratitude. And I think even watching people I love die, that being so grateful that I had him really was a help for sure. Yeah. So I don't know when we come back, I wonder when we show up in the fall, number one question will be, what's our hair look like? How long will Michelle's hair?
Right. How long is my hair? How gray is yours?
Is it gonna be? I'm not sure.
But like you said, we got some cool stuff we want to do over the summer. It's just going to be different. The podcast itself is that we're going to try some new stuff this summer.
Yeah.
See where it leads, and that will guide us in what things look like in the fall. But we know we love doing this, don't we?
We do. We're sidekicks. We love you all, and I'm sure you can tell Michelle and I love each other. Right? What fun to have a project like this, 5 seasons with a soulmate that I have no idea how you came in my life this way, but what if you hadn't? My life. So you all listening, you think we're just here doing this because we're doing a podcast. We just love doing our thing.
Yeah.
We get along so well. We enjoy each other so much that even when we're not podcasting, we want to go hang out. So
I know it's so different. That's what I think is cool about it too, is that we're so different in so many ways, but at the core kind of values, that's where we are very aligned. But before we go, just one quick, you're working on another book. Like, what are you working on while you're gone? I want to talk about this for a second.
I'm working on at least one book. I'm going to do a book on what happens when a middle-aged woman comes to grips with the fact she's not middle-aged anymore and has to deal with, the invisible woman thing. So that's one. But I also, depending on how much rain there is, that will depend how much time I'll have to do it. Kind of want to start writing a novel again too. So that's my stuff.
And you've got your blog you're going to be doing. So that's fun. Again, everybody, what's the YouTube channel? Do you have the one for this specifically?
Yeah, it's called Wander Woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
WANDER, right? Wander.
Yeah. But it's all going to be on Facebook and LinkedIn too. So
that's cool.
And you.
And I'm working on a book. I'm like, we're at the end of the year. Thank you, Fawn, for the nudge on that one, because I had all this content, so I'm doing it. And then I'm doing my small group cohorts. I'm doing private coaching. And then you and I, when the Support a Women's Leadership Network, we have something cool coming in the fall when we get back. Oh, yeah. So be watching more information.
Watch our
Power.
Yeah. So, and I hope you all have great summers too. And
yeah, it's something that makes you super happy. Make time for you.
Absolutely. Go into your discomfort zone. Live now. Nobody knows what's coming. So do it the best you can every single day. There is a way to make every day awesome. There is a way.
Yes.
So just choose.
Yeah. And then thank you for hanging with us for 5 seasons. And we're looking forward to see what 6 looks like. So we appreciate every one of you for sharing, commenting, encouraging. Like we get so much support. It's just unreal. It's unreal. Doing something that's just fun.
And next time we're going to get better at leaving these wells in our podcast so we can put some ads in. That's why you're getting this ad-free experience. As Michelle and I are having too much fun, we forget to leave the spaces in there. So we're getting on it. We do love that you listen. Thank you for that. And we will see you in the fall. And there will be surprises for sure, okay? And message me. I may be lonely in my van, needing to hear from the outside world. I love you all.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for joining the Hard-Won Wisdom Podcast with best-selling author Fawn Germer and corporate innovator Michelle Brigman. Join us weekly for career and life-changing conversations with some of today's most influential thought leaders, senior executives, and trailblazers who will share their mentoring wisdom. This podcast is brought to you by the Women's Leadership Network. Visit hardwonwisdom.com for more on this podcast and for links to Fawn and Michelle's web pages and social media. Also, be sure to rate, subscribe, and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. We really appreciate that effort, and we'll see you next week.